Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a subject to you that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And that is something we're all dealing with right now if you're doing any kind of grocery shopping or shopping anywhere, retail stores or whatever. Inflation, prices, right? Well, it could be worse, as they say, but it's getting bad. It's getting really bad. And I don't want to be this guy who's talking about how cheap things were when he was a kid, but that's literally what I'm about to say. So I have noticed something. I've been paying close attention to correlations between product prices. Now, this is something a little different than what you're used to hearing, I think. Let me explain. So there's a correlation is, it can be expressed by a ratio. It can be expressed by some other data or relationship. But hold on a second. Getting noisy out here. For many, many years, I have watched the prices of milk march in lockstep with prices of gasoline. I'm going to say this again. The price of milk per gallon has been almost the exact same price on average for a gallon of gasoline, same amount. It's no longer the case, which means something. I'm going to tell you what I think it means. And not to dive too deep into the subject of economics, but something happened in the late 90s, millennium era, and shortly thereafter, where we as consumers, Western consumers, had a new kind of product for the first time in human history. We had something called digital media. Why is digital media different? Why are digital products different than physical products? Okay, well, obviously there's an infinite supply, right? Something's digital, you can make an exact duplicate copy of it by just copying a file. This is truth. Whatever your subscriber providers are telling you, there's an infinite supply of that stuff. So it has to be regulated to get to the point. They have to artificially create scarcity. If you know about economics, price is defined by supply and demand, right? In a market environment. Supply and demand define a price is reached in the middle where something's available. It has to have scarcity, though. This is a feature of our economic system. We weren't ready for this. We were not ready for infinite supply products. Our model can't handle it. What do you do? Suddenly everything's free? No. Well, that doesn't work because we are forcing businesses and people to pay bills. They have to make money to survive. So anyway, not to go on a tangent too far, but with digital products, something happened. They had to, for the first time, regulate prices. And you didn't hear about this because it's not strictly legal, but with databases, it turns out, since we had two things happen, actually. So we had the ability all of a sudden to coordinate pricing in an efficient way between businesses, such as over networks and internet communication, databases. It became very simple and trivial to synchronize pricing between companies or between states or countries even. And this is exactly what we've done. Pricing is very strictly regulated. It marches in lockstep. You see prices rise and fall across the demographics, across markets, and it's not even hard to find it online if you look for it. But what's happening with milk, to get to my point, almost at 5 minutes, the price of milk. I'm not kidding. It was almost $8 a gallon. Okay. Maybe that's a lot. Maybe it's a little for you. I don't know, but that's as high as I've ever seen milk be. But this isn't about that. It's about the correlation of the price of milk to the price of gasoline. So gasoline's been pegged, but you don't hear about this. They decided, the economic authorities have decided, that gasoline is too big of a metric. It's too high profile for people to ignore. All of the working class, most of them commute. So they're paying extremely close attention. Everyone is paying close attention to the price of fossil fuels, gasoline, diesel, what have you. So the last thing our economic authorities want to happen is for inflation to cause the price of gasoline to skyrocket, because people would riot in the streets. People would riot. They almost are already. So loud bird. So gasoline is, for in this area, it's about $5 a gallon. A little bit, between 5 and 6, depending on where you go. The price of milk is almost twice that, not quite twice that. Historically, it's been the exact same price. So why is milk more expensive now than gasoline? Here's my final point in question. I have an answer if you want to hear about it. Recall from what I just said that it has become practice and easy to regulate prices, and therefore it is easy also to bury inflation in places where it's less obvious. In, say, fast food. Have you noticed a price jump in fast food that is disproportionate to other price jumps, such as gasoline? Yes, you have. Come to think of it, right? Your $1 burrito is now $8. Why is that? Because inflation's happening. It's just being hidden. It's being very carefully hidden with technology. And it's getting so bad that it is now touching staples like milk and sugar, and they can no longer hide it. And it's going to get worse. Okay, so anyway, I don't mean to be a prophet of doom. I'm not trying to, project some kind of economic catastrophe, but these things do happen, and it would be unwise to think it is never going to happen again, especially with science, So maybe, stock up on water. Couldn't hurt, right? Some canned foods. But $8 milk, shoot, that's a lot of milk for a gallon of milk, if you ask me. I didn't buy my milk today. I could, but I got better things to buy. Anyway, have a great day. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com.